Oh, she is looking beautiful. It's coming along very well. And obviously we got the cab on for mock-up. We got a couple things to do to that before we'll have to pull it back off again, but we need it back on to mock up a few things because the engine's this way, which means we extend the cab a little bit. We'll get to that. But I want to talk about Big Bud. For those that don't understand, what is Big Bud all about? And I want to give you a history lesson real quick. Earlier on in the 50s or so, there was a tractor called a Wagner tractor. And the Wagner tractor was the first articulating tractor. What I mean by that is this is a straight axle, and then we got a straight axle, and it pivots in the center, and that's articulating, okay? So Wagner produced these tractors, and then after a while, they were sold a tremendous amount of them in Montana and other places around the US, and they basically got shut down. And Big Bud at the time wasn't Big Bud. They were a dealer for Wagner, and they decided to start building their own tractors. They said, hey, we don't have a tractor to sell to farmers, so let's build one. So they basically took a Wagner tractor, modified it to meet the farmer's use, what they want for, what we would like to have. So they said, hey, let's find something with easy components to get. So they got a truck transmission, a truck engine, and then they said, you know what, let's make the cab tilt back so you can access and pull the transmission out and so forth. And so this is the only tractor that I know of, a farming tractor that has the cab that tilts back. So in 1969, Big Bud started producing their very first Series 1 Big Bud tractor, which actually has the same cab as this one. In about 1969 to 1970, in that range, they came out with a prototype, tried a few farmers and said, hey, would you like to buy it? And farmers said, absolutely. And the reason for that is the problem that they were dealing with most tractors is they didn't have enough weight on the tractor to keep it on the ground to pull your implement. So you'd start having as a hopping issue. So Big Bud was brilliant. They said for every horsepower we have, we're going to put 100 pounds on the tractor of weight. So if it's a 50,000 pound tractor, it should be about 100 or 500 horsepower. So they built these tractors super, super heavy. Like stout, steel, everything. They built it on the tractor. And then they said, hey, let's get some big axles. Let's make sure it's overkill. But these are all components you can get off the shelf, and let's build a tractor. So in 1969 to 1970, they came out the first one. And my grandpa and his brother bought the third one ever built, which we still have. And then we've been running it all these years. These tractors are legends because they were basically the beginning of what you see today. All the big tractors you see out there, Steigers, Versatiles, all the John Deeres, the Cases, everything out there had to up their game because these tractors were so massive. They're huge, big, but you could repower them and build them. And one of the things that I love about the vision that they had is they said, let's not just build a tractor to sell. We can do that. Anybody can do that. Let's build a tractor that at any point in the future, you can repower it, you can put different transmissions in it, you can do different hydraulics, you can do different axles. Let's build something that is going to last, and you can keep using it. Guys, this is a 1977 Big Bud. Look at this thing. I mean, yeah, it's taken some time, and we're modifying it, but the vision that they had back in that day, I think that is one of the most amazing things about this is the legacy, the can-do attitude. I'm going to build something to the best that I can and make it happen, and it's going to be amazing, and I love it. And I think the passion that I have for these things is because I see the vision that they had. And I've been given an amazing opportunity, my brother's been given an amazing opportunity, my dad's been given an amazing opportunity to run these things, and these things have actually helped us keep this farm where it's at because we haven't had tractor payments. We haven't had to buy tractors every few years. You think about how many years we've got in 1970, now we have a 1977, we have a 1978, and then we have a 1979. And they're our main farming tractors. And they've ran thousands of hours, thousands of acres. Yeah, they do break down. They're old, but they're still cheap. And that's one of the beauties about these things. We have such a passion for it. And I will say, you guys have been amazing to watch this journey and support us. And I love the fact that you guys are just excited about this, because this is quite a project. It's quite a project to make it happen. And because of you guys, we have to work a little harder. So somebody said earlier in a comment that I saw, he said, "I hope you guys don't have great years." And I understand what he meant by that. If we had fantastic years and we made a lot of money, we would be trading off equipment, we would be sending it to the dealers, we'd have them fix it, we wouldn't have to work as hard, but we wouldn't be doing his projects like this. He's right. The tougher years make us do projects like this, and you guys are thinking, well, you're spending all this money. It's insane how much money you're spending in it. Well, for the horsepower we're gaining versus what the tractors cost today, yeah, we're spending a decent amount of money, but this thing's cheap compared to the used stuff on the market and the new stuff on the market. And I'm not bashing the new stuff or the used stuff. I would love to upgrade to a nicer machine, and I wouldn't have to worry about anything besides check fluids and just start the key or turn the key and run it. That sounds so appealing. Working all the time is exhausting, but to make this happen, to make it work the way that it should, and how we can use it to grow our farm, we're going to stick with Big Bud. And it's kind of our legacy. So yeah, I know I kind of rambled on a little bit, but I love these tractors. All right, so here's what I got going on. I quickly mocked this up in the end mill, and I made a mark here of where I need to cut it out to. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'll bore it out with this, can't remember the name of that thing.
The borer.
What is it?
The borer board. It's the borer board.
The borer board? Do I need to go in the boo box?
Yeah, the boo box.
The boo box. The boo box.
It's just not level then.
It's not very level, but that won't be a problem.
Okay.
So you're wondering how I'm clamping this down? There's a big old heavy piece of steel here that he welded to this plate, so I can clamp it in the vise, and then I can bore this out. So I'm going to use this bit right here, which is a carbide bit, and I'll notch all that out, and then I'll take this thing and you get the idea. So once I get that done, then he can get ready to mock it up in the tractor, and you can cut those pins out and go from there. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Turned out pretty good. Here's a 1 3/4 pin. Slides right in it. That's beautiful. Okay. All right. Somebody out there sent me something. I got another really sharp. Ouch! Little metal sharp sliver. Somebody sent me this thing. I can just set it up on my tooling, and it blows air and blows all the little chips away. Thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you. That was really nice. I really appreciate that. So yeah, thanks guys. Or thank you, guy. Whoever you are, guy. Mr. Guy. I'm gonna call you Mr. Guy.
All right, we're gonna grab the drawbar and bring it over to the end mill, and we are going to ream out, machine out a bigger opening. I'm gonna try this. We'll see if this works. So what we're doing here is they originally, Bud put an 1.5" pin under the articulating point of the tractor to hook the drawbar to, but the drawbar pin is 1.75". And we just didn't really like how small that pin was. I mean, that you'd have to seriously put some insane amount of force to try to break that pin, but you know, as it wears over time, it wears thinner. Well, we're just gonna bump it up to 1.75". That way it matches the drawbar pin. A little more strength. We got more ponies in this thing, a little more weight. This makes sense to do it this way.
Let's try it.
Now that's opened up to 1.75". This is a 2" pin, and this was an 1.75" drawbar pin, but it's stretched like an egg, as you can see from the previous years this thing's been used. And it's already over 2 inches in length. So we're gonna go ahead and flip this around, put this over there, and open the sides up on this, so that way a 2" pin can fit through on both ends. And that way we'll have a 2" pin on the drawbar, which is, I think, pretty standard. And we're also gonna lock the pin, make some type of cradle or something that locks it in, so that way the pin cannot rotate. That's what happened, is it spun in here over the years and destroyed that. And that way the pin takes the damage and not your drawbar. So drawbar's still good, we just gotta modify it. One second. I think it's all right when I move this over a little bit. What's up? Okay.
You're level there. Now, because this drawbar was egg-shaped, what I ended up doing, didn't want to do it because you don't want to crystallize the steel, but we got to fill in that gap because there was about a 1/2 inch gap, maybe 3/8 more like 3/8, maybe not quite 3/8, maybe it was a little closer to 3/8, but not 3/8, but it wasn't 1/2 inch. So anyways, I filled it in with weld, and now I'm going to bore that out, and then I can get it to the right diameter, because I want that pin to try to be as straight as possible and not be pulling and twisting, and then that way it won't wear on the drawbar. At least that's what I'm trying to do. So if we got to do it right, if we want to do it right, we got to do it now. So anyways, let's mill it.
All right, quick update. So on the back of the bud here, we've been, well, patching. Took that front extra scrap piece we cut off the front bumper and patched that hole that was right there. Cleaning up some of the marks that gouged in where the plasma cutter torch was cutting off all that weld. Well, it gouges this 1/2 inch iron here, and so I'm just trying to fill it with the welder and grind it down. This side I've tacked, and I got to grind that down. And then on the drawbar, Legarms worked his magic. We welded up the egg shape here. It was bad. It was like almost 2.5 inches stretched from 1.75". Isn't that nuts? That's how much wear happened to things over the years. So built it up with some weld right here, then he bored it out, so now we have a perfect 2-inch hole straight through. I got a brand new Case IH 2-inch category 4 pin coming, and it's basically the same thing like a Quad Track 620 or I think Steiger 580, any of those big category 4s. So that'll be perfect. It's got a square head on it too, so we're gonna build a piece on here so that way when it fits down in it, it locks into place and it can't rotate. That's what kills these things, is when the pin rotates. We don't want the pin to rotate. So that'll be awesome. And then we took some more of the scrap 1/2-inch iron we had and plated the sides, that angle here on the drawbar, because for one, the other bud has that done to it. So clearly Big Bud decided at one point that's important. Two, it makes a lot of sense. All that force pulling is gonna try to stretch that bend out, and you don't wanna stretch that. It's gonna just try to straighten that bar. It's just, so plating that on either side with 1/2-inch iron, welded heavy on both sides all the way around. That'll keep that angle there and keep it from stretching. Does that make sense? So the next step to finish the drawbar is we've got to cut those 1.25-inch holes to 1.75-inch, and then weld our new plate on the bottom here, and then weld it up along the sides and everything. So, yeah, we're not there yet. We're getting there. Let me show you guys what we're working on today. So, drawbar back underneath, plated the sides with 1/2-inch iron. The other ones like that too. Keep that angle from stretching. It's pretty much good to go. I've got some polyurethane stock ordered. I'm gonna cut it in half and slot it so it fits on the edges here and here, and that'll hold this fairly tight. So that way that roller can just kind of bump into the polyurethane, and then I have a plate coming to two I might put on the bottom, as well as one on the top here. And that way there'll be polyurethane bumpers around the whole part there. That'll just save a little bit of that wear on the iron. Big part we're working on here is where that drawbar connects. As you can see, cut a big old plate out of inch iron, and that now is the new clevis. I just can't get the word. You guys can tell me what the right word is for that. So I've got it mocked up under here at the moment. I just got to level this a little bit better, but we cut the holes. It used to use 1.25-inch pin, plasma it out these two, open them up to, well, big enough to sleeve with a heavy thick-walled pipe that's 1.75-inch in their diameter. Put that inside, welded it up as good as it possibly could. Now we've got an 1.75-inch pin through the whole thing, and that's quite a bit bigger than the 1.25-inch that was originally there. So now I'm cutting flat iron, 1/2-inch flat iron. I'm going to plate the sides all the way around here. It's going to extend up and stop up here. So it's going to come down and then go around. And that part there, all the forces on that is just pulling. It's just shearing force of pulling backwards. There's no down force, there's no twisting force. It's just pulling back. So, and potentially pushing if you're slamming your brakes and you got weight behind you. But, so I just am making this so that way there's no way it can shear off this. So, because it's hard to weld underneath, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first put the iron on here, tack it to this plate, take the plate off, weld it all up really good on the floor or in a stand, get nice penetrated welds around the whole thing. Then we'll put it back up here, and then I'm gonna go halfway into this 2-inch slab here, and then I can weld like this all the way around, and then hit the backside as much as I can, and that should hold it on there. And then we can hook that drawbar up, and then technically the drawbar is mostly done, except for we have a pin ordered. It's available, I just haven't picked it up yet. And we got to build a square cradle here. It'll be like what the Steiger quad tracks use, nice square box with a big handle on it, and that'll drop down in there. Make sense? Let's get to work. He's a little noisy back there. Anyways, I'm gonna try some with this ironworker, round 2. Now I know I've got this piece. I didn't know that was there, so that's a nice guide. Keep this from flaring up so I don't have to have my hands anywhere around here, but this is 1/2-inch iron at 5 inches wide. This unit says it can do, at least online, because it's all chewed up, you can't read it anymore. It says you can do 3/8 at 14 inches. So I would think you could do 1/2-inch at 5 inches. So let's just try it. It'd be nice because I could do a sweet cut on that. Let's turn this bad boy on. Oh, let's see here. On, pull this out. There we go. Wow. She did it. Not quite as square as I'd like, but that's pretty amazing. What a deal. That is crazy. That is so awesome. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, that just saved me a whole bunch of grinding and plasming, and that is wild. I love it. Good addition. Learn to use that.
It's coming together pretty good. So I'm ready to put this top on. I've got a plug here, or not a plug, but a port there to drain some oil back. I will have to cut holes here and put some drain ports from the cooler, but I'm not going to do that right now. I can do that after because I've got an access hole cover that I can get in there and clean it all up and so forth. I just don't know where those are going to be just yet, and we can do that later. But if I put that cover on, it's all cleaned up, welded. I've double welded everything inside there, so it shouldn't leak, hopefully. And then when we get it all welded all up, we'll plug all the holes and we'll pressure test it, take soapy water, check and see if we have any leaks. I think we're doing okay. And then after it's all done, no leaks, we will wash the live-in snot out of the inside. Hours. Maybe an hour, I don't know. Just keep washing. Get as much as we can cleaned out of here. Use the heat from the power washer, bake everything in there. We want it clean, so. And the nice thing is, if there's a few particles in there, we'll put magnets inside so that they can stick to it. And then those screens for the filters, or the screens that go to the pumps, will pretty much stop any small particles if we don't if there's a few that we miss, which there will be some. But overall, I'd say it's good to go. So let's put the cover back on and then start welding it up. We're going to grab the skid steer and slightly push down on this because it's got a slight bit of a arch and I want to get this perfectly flat. So we're cleaning up the area. Nick will get in the skid steer, he'll push down on it, and then I'll tack weld a few spots to keep this thing where I want it. And then after it looks pretty square and straight, then lots and lots of welding. But then that'll be cleaned up and then we can put the access cover back on and yeah, it's gonna look good.
Well, let's make this look like that in a press. Okay, here's what we got so far. It's pretty heavy. Got some cleaning up to do on it, but that's gonna cradle the underside of that right there. And so then I'll be able to weld really good up and down the edges of all this, and then I'll come on the inside and then weld that. And then we'll see about possibly doing some gussets underneath and the sides, but all this is doing is pulling that way. So that's gonna have to tear this unit off, that whole center section there where the original is hooked up. And then on top of that, this is like, I don't know, what, 70% of where it's gonna anchor from because it's got all the original holding that pin in there. So yeah, this is not gonna rip this thing off. But I like to make a little overkill. Think that's overkill? Man, my face is just filthy. That means I'm doing a good job in here. A little bit, so I was wondering it would do. I might have to spread this, the hair with the bottle jack to get this to line up because I think it pulled it in just a hair. All right, let's spread it. So we're just squaring it up right now.
Spot on right there.
Pin is loose, which is good. That's what we want.
You know, Nick.
So it's square up. Yeah.
Should just weld it.
Yeah, let's just weld it.
It's like.
And then are we angling these off, or are we leaving them square like that? You can't go any farther this way because you got to deal with hitting over here.
We'll see what it looks like. I think it would look kind of nice to have a little bit of an angle.
I figured we'd cut that when it's welded on. Cut it off, put a piece on the magnet on there and just slice it.
We should probably do that.
Okay, let's weld. All right, let's take a look here. So, did 2 passes on the top, 1 pass on the inside, because it's just hard to weld underneath like that. It's strong weld, but it's good. But that's solid now. So I'm thinking, let's get that drawbar, let's bring it over and let's hook it on here, put it up there, and it might, oh, this is getting worse. Yeah, it might actually not come off. Could be on there permanently from here on out. That'd be sweet. Let's get it up there. Hey Scott.
Yeah.
Want to jack the jack? It's on the back of the bud.
You ready?
Yep, jack her up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. Okay. 1 second here. Okay. Can you kind of shove it in a little bit? A little more. Keep going. There you go. Okay, right there. All right. I'm not putting the pin down all the way yet because there's a good chance we're gonna take this thing off again. But for now, I think we're good. So we gotta decide now if we wanna angle that, cut that corner off. I mean, it kind of looks nice because it kind of matches the whole divider box, but, I don't wanna put much iron right here because it gets close to the articulation and I don't really know how tight that gets there. So nice sharp edge for your back to catch when you go underneath here. That's exactly what I try to get. Here, already done that one a few times. And now that one.